everyone, and welcome back to Deeper Grooves, Musicians on Music, hosted by Cliff Beach and sponsored by California Soul Music record label. I'm so honored and excited, really stoked to have Don Bryant, legendary singer, songwriter from High Records and Fat Possum Records, here to talk about his new album, You Make Me Feel. Please help me welcome Don Bryant.
Hello, is it Don?
Yes, it is.
Hello, Don. This is Cliff. I'm calling from the Deeper Grooves podcast for our interview today.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Pretty good.
Excellent. We're very excited to talk to you today. I've been talking with Scott and listening to your music the last couple of weeks, and you have a storied history, so very excited to be able to hear, from the horse's mouth from you all about your career and your new album.
Yes, thank you, man. Hey, that's a lot of these songs. That's each one a part of my life.
Yeah, it sounds like it. So listening to your old album, I see that you've remade some of your songs that you did with your wife, Ann Pebbles, back in the day, like 99 Pounds, and you sound so great at this age. Being able to do that is so great to hear from you. How do you feel about returning to music and making these albums now, and how did you make this record?
I feel great about it, man. It's a part of me. And for a long time, it was a little empty as far as I was concerned. I was home with music and writing songs and loving it and what have you, and thank God it opened back up for me, and hey, I'm glad of that, man, and glad I had another chance at it, and thankful that it's moving in a direction like that I love.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, it's nice to be able to continue to do something that you love and to have it be so well received and people are excited about it. And this is, a follow-up on your last album as well. So when you were making this album, how was it making this record versus your previous record that you did?
Well, I don't know. The more I get off into it, the deeper I can, go back to even a lot of the things that I went through, a lot of the things that I heard people talk about going through, and then picking out some ideas, and setting the story around certain ideas. It makes me feel good and thankful that I'm still able to do that.
Yeah, I think that you just get better and better with age, like a fine wine in that way. It sounds like it.
All right.
So then when you were doing your resurgence and coming back with the Don't Give Up on Love album, and yet how did you end up being on Fat Possum Records, and what kind of brought you back to the limelight of doing it with them?
Well, it had a lot to do with my manager, Scott Beaumont. He owns the label, and I, had been doing commercials and different things for him at times, and got an opportunity. One of his vocalists got ill and couldn't make it, and he asked me if I would be interested in doing something, and I hadn't been doing anything, alive. So I said, yeah, I'll take a chance at that. And, we got together, and I did a few shows for him, and he liked it, and that made me feel better, and I just started to, get deeper and deeper off into it. And I'm, like I say, I'm glad I did that, because that opened up these doors.
Yeah, no, it sounds like you're just putting one foot in front of the other and taking the opportunities as they land and going through the door, and that's very cool. That's very cool that you're still active. Just giving him my best, man. I'm giving him my best. That's what I look forward to doing, and hopefully there's enough people around that can relate to a lot of these stories, and that makes a difference. Yes, it definitely makes a difference. And it makes sense that you would have a relationship with Scott and with Fat Possum, because Fat Possum is pushing out some of the classic records from High Records, I believe, as well, which you worked for a number of years.
Right, yes.
And so to kind of talk about that period from your work there, you made some classics with your wife, Ann Pebbles, including the iconic, you co-wrote I Can't Stand the Rain, which has been sampled by Missy Elliott and just kind of in the musical DNA of our time. And so I just want to kind of understand your backstory of how you went about your process of writing that song and that song being produced by Willie Mitchell.
Well, I was traveling a lot. I was doing some shows with Ann, and I don't know. I was one of the writers at the studio, and whenever somebody was coming in to record or needed some material, I would always try to have something prepared for them. And little by little, I got to know their style and different things like that, and when I knew they were coming in, I'd present, a couple of songs for it, and most of the time it worked out. They would always receive it, and that made me want to go stronger, and, it got down inside of me, and I couldn't stop.
So then when you were making particularly I Can't Stand the Rain, was there anything you were thinking about particularly at the time when you were making that song?
Yes. We were all gathered together, at her apartment, Andrew's apartment, and we were all gathered together to get ready to go to a concert. I think it was Bobby Bland, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, we were getting ready to go to this concert, and while we were all gathered in the house, a big storm came up, and I mean it, lightning and thundering and everything, and so it canceled our trip to the college, to the auditorium to see the show. So we were all sitting around together, and somebody said, "Hey, man, I can't stand this rain," because it made us miss the show. And most of the time when you got 3 or 4 writers together and, one hit an idea to do something, and we were all there together. And we just got on the song, and next thing you know, we had that song finished that night. And the next morning we took it to Willie, and Willie really liked it, and that's how it came about.
That song, just the way that Willie produced it and the way that it's written, you have introducing the electric timbales and that really interesting sounding intro, and then also just having Ann at the top, a cappella, perfect voice, perfect melody, lyrics. You start right with that, lyric from the title and kind of go from there.
See, Willie was known for that, You give him a song and you're working with an artist, he going to have them right on time, doing what they need to do. And, it's just different things he heard that we couldn't hear. He heard them as a musician, and that we couldn't hear. But, I thank God for Willie Mitchell, because I came through a lot of stuff with him, a lot of things with him, and, learned a lot from him and what have you. And we brought the song in, and he got with Ann, and it was all over then. And, he knew what he was doing. And I trusted him. I gave him the melody and the lyrics, and he added everything else.
Well, the melody and the lyrics is the main part of the song, so you did a lot. But I love that track, and I've just been listening to it again, and there's so many different versions of it. I've heard a version by Seal and a version by Tina Turner and tons of other artists, but no one has ever been able to recapture the exact magic of what you guys did with Ann. I think, that.
Well, well, thank you, man. But we did it, and you put it down for her to get off into. Generally they want to do it mostly like you did it, but everybody have their own ways of using lines and whatever. And we gave it to her. We showed her how it went. Hey, she jumped on it, and she brought it right on out.
Oh, yeah, she definitely did the thing, for sure. That's just an interesting time period. You were putting out music yourself. You had the Precious Soul album that came out in the late 60s on High Records. But you were also around great artists like Otis Clay and Al Green. So how was that experience of being on that label and what you guys were able to create and do?
Well, for me, it was great, because once I decided that this was going to be, a big part of my career, the writing also, it made me feel great because I had more and more people coming in that needed material, and that drew me deeper and deeper off into writing songs. And the artists that were coming in, they were so dynamic, it kind of moved me over to the side for a minute, and they started having me hear the records. Then I realized that this singing thing might not be what I need to be doing, and maybe I need to write some things. And that's kind of how it got me off into stronger into the writing situation. And I enjoyed it as much as I did the singing, because everybody that came in generally would need maybe one or two songs to finish their albums out. And I would always try to have something prepared for them, and it worked out fine.
Excellent, excellent. So then when you look back over your writing catalog, do you have any favorite songs? How many songs would you say you've written in your lifetime as a songwriter?
Ooh, it kind of scared me when I found out, man. And I don't want to overestimate it, but I know it's over 100 something.
Wow.
Hey, it makes you feel good because, you had to come up with a lot of stories to do that many.
Oh, yeah.
And it just mind, being around the writers and different things at the studio, because it was more than me. And, 4 or 5 writers at a time in a room trying to come up with some songs. I don't know. It opens up a whole lot of things. You're working on one song, and you might do a line that you feel would be great for another song. So it was just a lot of ways of doing it, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed doing it so much. It became a second thing to me. That the song that you write and got other artists doing it, that's gonna be a good area or place for you to be, because they were doing such great songs, you know what I'm saying? And I was kind of coming down on my song list and what have you, and going up on my writing more so. And, it kept going that way. So I started, most of my time doing writing instead of trying to sing, because Willie had a pretty full roster. And all these different guys coming in from everywhere and doing these great songs. And I decided I'd concentrate on the writing and leave it up to them doing the singing. And it worked for me. It worked for me. I was still right there where I wanted to be, in the middle of the music scene.
Right. And a big part of it, and the writing is a huge undertaking and a huge part. What would you say your process is when it comes to writing? Are you kind of thinking about melodies first? Are you thinking about lyrics first? Are you thinking about them together? Are you playing an instrument and singing? What's your process?
Well, I tell you one thing I try to really look at good is how the artist sounds. And I don't know, it wasn't one thing I was really concentrating on. I would let it flow, not being a pianist, but could make some chords and what have you to really get the melody going. So, it was like a challenge to me to get a title and then tell the story on that title. And lots of times I had other artists around helping me out. That we were all going through the thing together, to prepare for the next artist. But, it made me feel good to draw these things out in a story. And make other people really listen, and you don't really realize how many other people may have gone personally through these things, and that's how I try to reach people.
And then how does that feel then? Like, you take a song like I Can't Stand the Rain, and again, going into the sampling era many years later with Missy Elliott in the 90s, making that a huge hit, bringing the original track back to the forefront, sampling not only the sounds of the record, but Ann's voice and that iconic melody and the lyric from the title. How does it feel to be able to have a new generation of people get introduced to your songs and music?
It made me feel good because it made me feel like, hey, these were some good songs that I've seen happen to so many people, going back and picking up songs from the past and bringing them back and re-recording them. And these were some great songs, and, I don't know, it made me feel good that the artists were willing, you know, to do these songs and bring them out and make them come out as well as it did, because, you know, the way I was doing it, you know, they would kind of try to stay in that limit that I was doing, and it worked out fine. You know, I hope, you know, that I hope that it's still there, and you know, there's a lot of artists looking for songs now. You know, and hey, I still have that same feeling about what I did then. I still have that same feeling now, trying to make the story sound good to the listeners and understand what's going on with the story.
Yeah, I think that's what any songwriter and any artist would want, and that's kind of the end goal for them. So then, at a time where you could have been retired, and you were retired for many years, but now you're inspired, what's kind of keeping you going these days?
My love for music, my love for writing, you know, just listening to some of the old things that were done when I was coming along, the ideas and different things, and to be able to connect back to that era and come up and begin to come up with ideas and songs like I did then. That makes me feel real good to know that it's still there.
And so when you're making these new records, you are reclaiming some of your older catalog and songs and redoing them. And it's very nice to hear the songwriter sing his own songs. Are you also writing new songs, and are you continuing to write as well these days?
Yes, I am. You know, now that's what my life is filled with. It's writing again. And it feels as good now as it did then, because, you know, just to get in the mood of telling a story that you feel that, you know, your audience hearing the story and the way I present it, you know, and enjoying it. That makes me feel really good.
And do you feel that having more experience has changed your songwriting compared to your earlier catalog to now?
Well, you know, I think I would kind of say so, because it was a different era then. You know, people were looking at things differently, and so was I. And, you know, I had a lot of people around me that had stories, you know, and to be able, those people are not around. They have different stories now, but to go back and remember some of those things that we used to talk about and what have you, you know, it makes me feel like, hey, it's still there. It's still there, and the people are still there waiting on it and looking for it. And I guess I would say knowing it when they hear it.
They'll definitely they'll know your writing and your sounds, especially the instrumentation. I love the way it's such a great throwback to High Records and the sounds with your new record. And so what would you say is next musically for you? What's happening with the album, and what do you plan to do over the next year?
Well, basically, you know, I intend to continue singing and continue writing. This is, you know, to me, it's a time for me to buckle down and do as much writing-wise as I can, with the hopes that, you know, everything will settle down or what have you, and we can get back to business again. You know, I'm going to still be recording. I'm doing interviews, radio, and television, and different things like that. You know, it's not dying completely away. Whatever I can and whenever I can, we can get together and do some shows or whatever. That will uplift my my whole life, to tell you the truth.
You have a different approach to the music as you're working in the studio, recording it, versus performing it live in front of an audience?
Well, I don't know. I still feel good about it. You know, it makes. I think personally that enjoying what you are doing and projecting that to the audience, I think that's a great difference than just singing the song. You know, I try to put myself up into it, the story and the way I do it, and you know, with the hope that hey, people will hear it and enjoy it, because that's the old, you know, the R&B situation. That's where I came up at, and I never changed from that. running around lots of times, just humming ideas because that's what was in me. And I didn't have another opportunity to really get back in and record some of these things that I had done and were doing. Hey, that means a whole lot to me.
So then let's talk about your origin before High Records. How did you get originally into music, and where are you from, and what music did you listen to growing up?
Oh, that's easy. My father had a gospel group, and it was Eddie O'Brien and the Four Stars of Harmony. And they would travel around all, small cities and small towns with that group and what have you. And they would rehearse at our home at times, and we would always gather around to listen to them. 7 boys and 3 girls. And we would always gather around and listen to them harmonizing in the way they were singing and what have you, and I caught on to it fast, man. I loved to hear what they were doing. I was always trying to mark their sounds and different things. And I guess that it just took a hold of me and brought me right on up, man. And that's what I give my credit to.
And do you feel that kind of gospel tradition led you into kind of the R&B of the 60s and to the music you're doing now?
Well, I wouldn't say that it led me into it. Hearing and imitating, imitating the sounds and what have you, that was the thing that, you're walking around or what have you, and just be humming the things that they do. There were other fellas in the neighborhood that were singing too, and we would just get together at nighttime. We would just get together and harmonize some of the songs that were going on and what have you, and that just kept building and building into it. And eventually, this one would maybe fall out of the group, and there were always somebody else that was around that liked to sing that would join the group, and we always kept about 4 to 5 voices at a time. And it just kept growing and kept growing. I kept loving it, singing at talent shows and in the city and what have you, and at school and different things. I just kept loving it, man. It just grew and grew, and hey, here I am, man.
Who would you say is your biggest musical influence?
I would say my father. I would say he's my musical influence, because we tried to, from the beginning, that's what we were trying to do, trying to imitate the gospel group, and we would harmonize, singing some of the things that they would be rehearsing on, and I think that was my influence.
And did that gospel group have recordings? Did they have records that you
I don't recall them having any records. They seemed to be working a lot, because Pop and them would always be going out of town or in different places, singing and whatever, and they would always have engagements, So I think that is what got me started. And then as I grew up, I started, really listening to the radio and different things, and people, kids around me, guys trying to sing and what have you. We would harmonize together, and if it sounds good, we would continue to do it. And we started getting in, like I say, some of the talent shows and different things, and from there, I was gone for a day, and all the rest of them would branch off into different directions. But and at one time, it just left me as a soloist, and I enjoyed that, But yeah, it was a part of me, and I really, to tell you the truth, I intended not to let it go, because I enjoyed doing it so much. To use my voice a different way, trying to imitate different artists, or what have you, And that's how I practice, and that's what kept me going.
So then what advice would you give someone that's starting out in the music business, either from the artist side, singing, songwriting? What was some advice from what you learned that you would want to give to this next generation of artists and songwriters?
Well, I would say don't give up, because it's not going to all jump out at you at one time. You got to work at it and continue working at it, and then enjoy from my point of view, you got to enjoy what you're doing, whether it's what, somebody else might want or not. It might not be. But if you enjoy it, you can continue to sing, and then you can continue to grow, with different styles and different types. I used to listen to all the music, country and western, blues and everything. I used to listen to all of it. And songs that I thought that I could feel, I would always try to learn them and just hum them and sing along with them. So I never really stopped trying to sing when other people would venture out in other directions that would leave me there by myself. But I never did stop. I always enjoyed doing it. And that's what I kept doing it. And I think that's the biggest thing that brought me to where I am now.
I like that. I think definitely don't give up. It's a hard road. There's ups and downs, but a rewarding road. And so what do you want your lasting legacy to be? What do you want to be remembered for most musically?
Musically, I don't know. It could be like the more you enjoy what you're doing, the stronger and the better you can get at what you're doing. And I think that was a big part of me continuing on, because I enjoyed what I was doing, and even if nobody else around me did, I enjoyed what I was doing. So that's why I kept doing it. And it got, I kept looking at others and listening to others and trying to imitate others and what have you, until I finally, I would say, found myself, And once I did that, hey, I feel like, hey, I'm on the road now. So I'm going to stick with it. And that's what you got to do.
No, yeah,
okay.
You definitely got to stick with it. I think that's great. I think it's definitely evident in your latest 2 albums and what you're doing. And it's very inspiring whenever I see, someone that's an older, still getting out there, still excited to do what they're doing. And I think it adds so much life and vitality, and it keeps people going, having something to do and having something that they're passionate about. So it was very exciting to be able to talk to you today and be able to kind of listen to these albums and get to know you musically more. And, if I had one thing to say, I would just say that redoing your music is amazing. I love hearing the new music as well. And I don't know if you've done a new version of I Can't Stand the Rain, but I'd love to hear you on it sometime.
That's not a new version, but it's the same thing, but I do it on my shows.
Yes, I've seen some live, but I've never heard it on a studio track, so maybe one day we'll hear that from a studio album as well.
All right. Hey, I guarantee you, man, I do enjoy talking about that part of my life and what I did then and what I'm doing now, and to lay it all on the side of music and writing, singing, and enjoying.
Excellent, Don. Well, you keep enjoying it, and we're going to talk to you soon. When this comes out, we'll circle back to you in the shop so you can hear it. And we'll definitely be promoting your music, promoting your albums, talking about it. And we look forward to speaking to you again on the next album.
All right. Thank you so much, man. Thank you for the interview. Take care.
You're welcome. Take care. Bye-bye.
It was such a pleasure to talk with Don Bryant today on the Deeper Grooves podcast, hosted by Cliff Beach and sponsored by California Soul Music record label. You should all go out right now and listen to his Fat Possum Records recording, You Make Me Feel, that's out now worldwide. We'd also like to thank our engineer Tim Hall and 1192 Studios for mixing and mastering this recording today. If you like what you hear and you want to hear more, come back next week and hear us on Deeper Grooves every Tuesday. You can check us out online as well at www.californiasoulmusic.com/Deeper Grooves. Until then, keep the soul alive. Talk to you soon.